All right.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I don't know how it was.
You can, but you'd have to be careful
Ready?
what you say.
Okay. The time is now 7:22, and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were Trustee Nyberg, Trustee Cesaro, Mayor Pro Tem Hartz, Trustee Katzos, Trustee Moreland, Trustee McLaurin, HR Director Marie Kelm, and Attorney Goldman.
And mayor.
And the mayor.
I'm sorry, and the mayor by phone. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the records. Seeing none, the next agenda item is conflict of interest. Any conflict of interest for this board?
No?
Nope.
Okay, and general public input.
Hello, trustees. Chief Evans, Upper Pine River Fire Protection District. I just had one question I wanted to explain to the trustees and to the mayor. Upper Pine is the current recipient of something called the SS4 grant. It's a $200,000 grant to write a safety plan for US 160 from the pass all the way over to the Arizona state border, so from Wolf Creek. So that grant or that plan has to be submitted to the federal DOT by December 31st. And one of the things that grant does is it opens up about $5 million in mitigation money for safety projects along the 160 corridor. So I need to kind of have an answer sometime by December 15th of what's happening with the intersection on the east side of Bayfield. So I know you got a congressionally appropriated or congressionally directed funding for that intersection, but I don't think it was enough to cover the entire cost of the intersection. However, what we can do is we can put that into our grant plan so that when we open up the $5 million for action items along the 160 corridor, we can match your earmark that came from Senator Hickenlooper. So I talked to Katie about this briefly, and like I said, I don't know where you guys are at with that, if you've received the congressional directed funding, and then what the plan is later on for that, or if you want us to put it into the matching funds for the action grant, I need to know that by December 15th. And that's my presentation. Just a real quick update on the wildland grant we put before you guys. That went in. We're still waiting to hear on it. Hopefully, probably in the next 30 days, we'll get either a yes or no, and that was the mitigation money that was designed for the Little Pine River Park and some of the other specialty areas around Bayfield. So thank you. Any questions on that before I go?
No, can we, I don't know the answer to Chief's question on where we're at.
So we are processing through, it is going through CDOT right now, and I know that they said by fall we've had 2 meetings, one with CDOT and one at basically probably more email and discussion. So we don't necessarily really have a final grant yet. We do know that we were awarded at this time. Obviously, at the time, we don't have the other $1.5 million that we need to finish that at this time. And so that would, could they use that for the grant? Well, that's probably a question to determine really what's its eligibility at this time. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily up to the town of Bayfield, it's really up to CDOT. And that's something that, we talked briefly about this afternoon,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
So do you know if that grant would consider
this grant as matching? Like sometimes they want actual
Right, so.
cash injection rather than a grant
Yeah,
match.
so all the action items that we have to put into our plan are all eligible to be funded. So that's why I'm asking is that I'm going to try to put in there, it's no guarantee, but I can
Right.
certainly put in the plan that I need to match the money that Katie needs for the intersection. So that other 1.5 million that you're short, that's certainly within the $5 million limit for the action items. We have some other action items that we put on there, like there's some Hesperus Hill changes, and some other issues that are over by Ute Mountain that we have to accommodate, and then some post-crash care items that are all going to total up to probably 5 million. But it is eligible to do that because it enhances safety by slowing down the traffic coming across that 160 corridor through the town of Bayfield. So,
And do you need a town board vote on something like that for them?
I
Or does
don't,
it
I
have
just,
to
I
just
just
be
need to
directed?
know if you guys are getting the congressionally directed funding. That is a very difficult process to get through. It takes a pretty skilled person to navigate those waters. And I would just say that as soon as you guys tell me you're getting the congressionally directed funding that we can match it, then I'll go after that. I have until January 19th to apply for those action items. We have until December 31st to get the plan done. So that item has to be in the plan for then I can unlock the other 5 million that I can go after on January 19th.
Well, I don't think any of us would say no to that because that would get us the light. So we just need to make sure that we get.
Well,
if we get
and
those funds,
what
are
does
we
it
gonna
mean
know
to
anything?
have the grant? Because keep in mind that everything is reimbursed. So the
Right.
award is one thing, and I don't know if that award letter is adequate.
Yeah. And it's just, I think once you get the congressionally directed funding and you put that in some kind of escrow.
We don't get any
reimbursement.
money. We
We get
spend money,
reimbursed.
we get reimbursed.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I'll have to detail all that in the plan, but, if,
I would think
I
the
can-
award
I can
then
forward
would suffice, wouldn't it?
This, yeah,
In
the
this-
award
this
letter.
situation?
like I said, there's a lot of moving parts to this
Yeah.
type of project, and like I said, it takes a lot of skill and experience to kind of get through all that.
Right.
And so, like I said, I can wait for an answer from you guys for almost a month, but it's really kind of determines what you guys want to do with that.
Well, I think we already have everything we're going to get, because if you have the award letter, then we have to actually do the job to get reimbursed. So the award letter would probably be sufficient for your purposes,
Yeah,
I would
and I can
think.
include that, and
Yeah.
then we can put it that the matching money needs to be in there, so.
Yeah, and you could just explain it out that it's one of those kind of awards where our match is done
Yep. So,
that way.
okay, all righty. And I'll follow up with Katie or Lori as one of.
Thank you
a
so
number of my
much.
persons, so.
Thank you,
Okay.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank
I
you,
would
yes.
love to see that happen before I'm off the board.
Brian Blanchard, 627 Louisiana Drive. First of all, you got to love the collaboration. That's huge. So glad to see that, and more of that hopefully down the line with schools and everything else. So, two quick things. One, lodger's tax. We're getting to a point where we're getting some rental properties in town, VRBOs, Airbnbs, and the like. When we get our first hotel, I'd like to see the board be proactive with lodger's tax rather than reactive, where we miss out on that. It seems like the town needs income streams any way we can get them. And it's interesting, I met with the city of Durango and Pagosa Springs, and they've been very, very successful with their lodger taxes. Of course, they have hotels and motels and different things, but someday we will also. And it's interesting that when we get our first hotel, and it's, say, 50 rooms, which is a very small hotel, it, on an annual basis, right now, at a 5% lodger's tax, would generate about $40,000 a year, one small, almost a boutique hotel. So it can be not a lot of money. Obviously, Durango is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. But what it can go for is earmarked, and those things are good for the town of Bayfield in that it can create a visitor center or a welcoming center of some sort for the businesses in town. It also can go to the staff to pay the volunteers and the minimal staffing for that. Also marketing and Parks and Rec. So important things for us to consider, but just putting it on the horizon for you to think about it going down the line. We are going to be up to our 15 in short-term rentals here pretty quick, I think. So we ought to also follow up with how we're going to reap the rewards from granting those licenses and permits. The other thing that I'd like to speak to is letters to the board. In general, I think the board needs to have an established way to identify and to recognize letters that come to the board. I've written letters in the past over the years, and it never comes up at the actual meeting. It's in the agenda, it's in the packet, and I know I'm not the only one that have written letters, and it kind of just dies there. I would like to see the board acknowledge those letters that you get. If it can just be in passing, hey, we saw the letter, you know, what do we all think about that? Let it go. It doesn't have to be a big deal, but I would love to see the board. You need citizen input. I think that's one way to encourage that, is to acknowledge the letters that you do get. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lori Lazari, I'm glad I sound loud enough to everybody, okay, right?
Yeah, you're good.
I am reacting to, by the way, I live in Bayfield and I did sign in with my address, to the letter in the packet that was the request for immediate resignation for Alexis Hart, trustee Hart's. So what I'm planning to do is I'll read part of the letter and then my comment to it. It says, "Dear Trustee Alexis, this letter requests your immediate resignation from the Board of Trustees. As you are aware, your current position on the board is not based on proper election process. My comment to that is this is a baseless statement. Alexis was appointed to the board when there was an opening, just the same as many others, including a recent appointee of Lori Zazzaro." So it is a Bayfield standard procedure to fill a vacancy when it is not an election time. And then it continues, "And continued presence is causing significant concerns regarding the legitimacy and integrity of our governance structure." It's a hard word. My comment to that is merely generalities without one single example. And then it says, "We also have concerns about your competency and advocacy for the whole town and the town's future." My comment, those are empty words, not one concern is stated. And then it says, "Attending board meetings without research and knowledge of agenda items causes delays in important and timely decisions." My comment, could this be when the board wants to ram a vote through before they themselves completed thorough research? Alexis is very thorough and does not comply to intimidation, and I have noticed that. "The focus of each trustee," this is the letter again, "should be moving forward, solving problems, keeping fiduciary responsibilities at the forefront." So I'm choosing to define fiduciary first. A person or entity that manages money or property for someone else, and in this case, it's our town, with the legal obligation to act in the best interests of the person or entity they represent here. And at this one, Alexis is a rock star. I was here at the meeting when she went line by line on all the areas where the town is over budget and asked why. I have never seen a trustee do that before in the 3.5 years I've been attending these meetings. I, for one, would like to see that more often. And if it were not for the fact that there were so many line items that were over budget, it would not have taken so long. I would also like to see the board consider ways for our town to run more efficiently rather than spending money without considering if the expenditure is truly a need or if it's just a want. And then it continues, it says, understanding and following the guiding principles for each trustee is a reasonable expectation. But you have chosen to ignore Resolution 629 on occasion, putting the already concerned staff of Bayfield at more risk of stress and possible attrition. Resolution 629 is too long for me to read, but I picked out a couple of items, and it says one is respect the rights of the minority, and another one is treat everyone with respect. While I have never seen Alexis show disrespect for others, when sitting in the audience, I have seen trustees show a lack of respect and impatience for others on the board. It was really embarrassing for me to watch that. Now I'm skipping to the bottom, and it says, Bayfield needs a board of trustees who will represent the people of Bayfield fairly and without bias, and I say amen to that one. And I will now end by stating that from the many meetings that I have attended, Alexis has always shown professionalism. She is always prepared and gives her input in a reasonable and unbiased manner. She votes her conscience and will not vote just to avoid intimidation from others on the board. She is fearless and willing to stand alone if need be. She is smart and has educated herself on all town issues up for a vote. I see her show respect for others, even when respect has not been shown to her. I am grateful that she represents the town of Bayfield. Thank you.
Is now the time for comments on that, or is that going to be open to discussion
It's
later?
open comments.
Will there be time later, or is
Nope.
now the
Nope.
time?
This is it.
Marion Tone, 1495 County Road 526, or the majority of my time, 780 Wolverine Drive, Suite 7A. So I don't live in the town of Bayfield. I couldn't vote for any of you. I can't vote for any kind of recall, and my name on a petition wouldn't mean anything. But I do want to say that I watch things very carefully because everything you do in the town of Bayfield affects us because we are your next door neighbor. We are just the next side of all the subdivisions, so we pay attention to a lot of what goes on here. This is a really diverse board. You all came in at different times under different circumstances, some appointed, some voted in, some from prior experience, some brand new. Our mayor from prior experience before and then back again. So it's a really diverse board with a lot of different experience. And the town, like everybody else in Colorado, has been, and probably the country, has been going through a lot of changes. And I think that it's been a difficult growth time for the board. Because you're all learning how to mesh with each other and learning each other's styles and, you know, who questions and who doesn't and that sort of thing. I, for one, as a member of the public, even though I'm not a resident within the boundary itself, although I feel like one because I'm usually the last one to turn off the lights over there, I just want to applaud you for trying to figure this out amongst yourselves. And I think this is a difficult process. I've known several of you from other environments or activities or boards or, the comprehensive land use plan and some other things like that. And so I know some of your backgrounds and some of your perspectives. I really applaud that you're sticking to this and trying to work through some difficult issues, both with the changes with our town manager and just the changes in general. So I just want to support your continued growth together, because I love Bayfield, and I want to see the very best for Bayfield and the surrounding areas, and I just want to applaud you for that. I think there's been way too much conflict, as I said to somebody out there while you all were having executive session. I think we all need to just sit down and eat some turkey together and get over it and move on together, because this is a fantastic community. I love this community. I know I'm still a newcomer, but I have been here for 24 years, so I'm not as much of a newcomer as I used to be. I love this community. I applaud you for what you're doing. I applaud everybody for caring this much. People that have come that want to see a particular board member reside, those who don't want the particular board member to resign. I just applaud everybody for being involved, but I really want to be able to support you as you move forward and face the issues that we're dealing with. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Marion?
Thank you.
Sorry, David.
Ladies.
Lucy Stewart, 128 North Appaloosa. And in going and meeting with different people from the community in the last 2 weeks since the last meeting, and trying to get input and concerns of the citizens and what's going on and what they're seeing, people watching Zoom and people that might attend, and a lot of stuff that's going on in the community that is not very good. That's leaving a lot of people with bad taste for Bayfield. And I've been here since '79. I've never seen it like this, guys. I have not. And one thing that I kept hearing, that there is conflict of interest because some people are on the board, they're on other boards that people on the outside seem to think it's a conflict of interest. And so I'm not sure what conflict of interest is. I don't know if you can serve on the town board, serve on the senior citizen board. I don't know what conflict of interest, but there's a lot of stuff that people are noticing is going on out there in the community, and they are not at all happy with what's going on. You can make yourself believe what you want, but I think it's time to get over it, suck it up, and let's move forward and make this town what it should be and not be bringing everybody down. Thank you.
David Black, 606 Buck Highway. Thanks, Lori. Appreciate you stepping up. Solve one of the issues. But quite frankly, you know, I'm just gonna say, you know, if we're passing a letter around to get rid of one trustee, we should be getting rid of another trustee and a mayor. Let's be honest. Because Lori saved me from having to tell you what the fiduciary responsibility means, but it's clear you breached it. Thank you.
I'm Kay Phelps, 1048 North Oak Drive in Bayfield. I'm ashamed of a town board that fights like this and thinks they're better than the next guy. It makes me want to just throw up. I've served on the school board for years, and we always worked it out because we had a leader to help us. We didn't have 2 or 3 or 4 that decided somebody else needs to go because we don't like her. It's time to grow up. If you're going to sit up there and you're going to represent all the people, all the kids, everybody else, you better get your head out of it. Please try to be human beings to each other. Nobody should sit up there and have somebody talk to them like they did just the last time, I think. It's pathetic.
Hi, I don't think I'll need this. I used to teach 8th grade. My name is Michael Hauser. I'm at 526 on 2480. I'm signed in. I just came in to support Alexis. I've known Alexis for a number of years, and I just want to say that she has integrity coming out of her ears, okay? And she's not alone. There are a lot of people here who have integrity coming out of their ears, and there's a dynamic here in terms of like trying to get things worked out. I understand that, but I'm just saying that, there's been dynamics for a long time in our country, since before the country was started, and just because it's like there's something going on right now, it doesn't mean that it can't be hashed out by responsible people. And I guess that's about it. I think she's great, and I think that you should, if you don't want her, by the way, I think the letter was unruly. That thing concerned citizens, whatever the hell that means, pardon my French. But, it's like unruly, and I think we're better than that, and I think that there's a lot more integrity that we can use, to come out and show us how we are. So anyway, thank you.
My name is Linda Abbott. I live at 324 Star Crossing in Bayfield. I really can't say much more than what Lori said. I don't come to a lot of meetings on a regular basis, but the meetings I have attended, I've always felt that Alexis has acted very professionally and shows an interest, and it's very obvious to me that she does know what she's referring to. I appreciate the fact that she does ask questions and looks into things. And I did read the resolution. It's kind of like an employee handbook. And I would say after reading it that I'm not sure that everybody has observed it. It sounds to me like you should be, all of you, showing compassion and understanding to one another. And the very act of this letter coming out indicates to me that there's a lack of that. And back to this letter that is, it says that it was originated by concerned citizens, and looking at all the signatures, I really haven't noted that any of these citizens have been to the meetings. So I
disagree with that.
so I kind of wonder, who was the citizen that originated, where did the letter originate, I guess, is my question. But above all, if you're gonna have a handbook, and everybody signs off on it, then you do need to show some compassion and respect to everyone. And I guess if, yeah, it looks like somebody's going after somebody else, and that certainly isn't showing compassion and understanding. So y'all need to follow your own handbook. And I'm assuming everybody has signed off on it. And I know I work for a big organization, and we have the same thing. And if we're not following that handbook that we've signed off on, I would probably have a write-up from my manager, for sure. So she'd probably have me go to the HR department, and I'd be spoken to. But it's a huge organization. We have thousands of employees. So enough said.
Thank you. All right. We'll move on to item 4A, tabled interim town manager contract for Katie Sickles.
My suggestion along, if it's all right with the Mayor Pro Tem, perhaps taking 4A through D up.
All together.
As maybe bundle that all together in one motion, or however the mayor pro tem or the trustees wants to handle it.
So we'll entertain discussion about that and public comment for items 4A through D.
Do you want to discuss it or public comments
I
first?
think we do discussion
We
first.
discussed.
Okay, you said both, so just want to make sure.
Right.
Well, I have just a question, I guess, for the last subject we were discussing. I want to know I don't understand how this letter that was addressed to Alexis didn't go to her, but it went to the town to be published. And I am curious, so that seemed very odd to me, but I also, and I disagreed with a lot of things in the letter, but I kind of wanted to know, what is the procedure? And I think this is for you. What is the procedure if you feel that a board member is inappropriate for the job and that you want them removed? What is the procedure for that?
Well, there is a statutory procedure for that, and usually due process is involved. But there is a process by which if the majority of the trustees believes that another trustee should not serve, there is a process, and that is pursuant to statute. Now,
Can you tell me the process real quick, or do I have to read the book?
there's generally a complaint, a charge that is levied against a particular trustee. And it's a formal charge with regards to some misfeasance or malfeasance. Okay? And that generally is taken up by the board. And if a majority agrees to bring that charge, then the remaining, or the person that is the subject of the charge, gets to defend themselves and goes through a very formal process. It's an adjudicatory process. And so that process affords due process for the person that's being accused. So that's generally the formal way in which something like that happens.
Well, did this happen often in this town, where a group of citizens or someone writes a letter and says, we want so-and-so to resign? I mean, is
That's
that?
a very different. That's a very different.
I don't know. I mean,
That's
first
very
time I've
different.
seen it.
A request for someone to resign is something that is informal.
Right.
And does not go through the due process channels.
right.
But
I mean,
that's
I
the
know it doesn't go to a
citizens.
vote or anything like that. I mean, it's
Correct.
just, I understand that part. I just wondered what the procedure was.
I will say, when we were discussing the topic of marijuana in town, we had lots of people came in and talked about things and wanted things on the agenda and stuff like that. And to me, this is just another thing they just wanted to talk about and make aware that they were unhappy with something. And then you have some that said they're happy with it.
Some
Yeah.
that aren't. Okay.
Yeah, and we actually, when we first met, when the brand new people had come on board, we had agreed that we wanted to hear what citizens had to say, and so we put it on our agenda that we wanted to hear it, and they are taking advantage of that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, that's
I
what
was
they
just
want to do.
curious.
Yeah.
Just curious
No, you're good.
how it works.
I appreciate what Town Attorney Goldman said.
Okay, discussion on items 4A through D.
How much can we discuss?
Is there any,
Are you
is there
going to
any
try and combine
discussion?
this
Does any-
into one?
Do we want to move to public comment?
Yeah, sure.
No
I might
discussion?
suggest that you have discussion about the direction that this board
Yeah.
is thinking of going before it takes
Okay.
on public comment.
All right. So we have been looking at the options of having Katie Sickles as an interim manager, or the option of having a interim manager brought in from outside, or the
Town staff.
the town staff some of the town staff being point people for just maintaining until we can get an interim manager in, compared to keeping them as an interim manager. So we have several options before us. We had Marie did a great job collecting information and doing a survey of the staff to find out what they wanted. So we have talked about that. We have not made any decisions at this point. We would ask for any public input or decisions.
Well, I want to just say, like,
All right.
some comments for myself, when thinking about what we spoke about was that, do we have, whoever we bring in, we got to make sure that, they really understand, some of the things that are really pertinent right now, like our grants that we have on the line, grants that can be very, tricky, and if you don't do them right, you can lose those grants. We don't want to lose the money that's coming into the town. So I know that's one of the things we considered. I know with town staff, we considered what's already on their workload, whether or not it was going to be harder on them. We considered, experience, and we considered what they requested and wanted as staff members. So we kind of looked at a lot of different angles on this. I don't want people just to think we just came up with an idea out of our head of what we thought was best, but would love to hear anybody in the audience's thoughts on it.
Lori again. I just have a question. What was it like when Katie came on board? Katie, was there an interim before you got here?
She was the interim.
Was the interim.
Oh, you
Yeah.
were?
Yeah. So we hired an external interim when we found out that Chris LeMay was going to leave. I was actually on the board at that time. And we were able to get several applications, and we did through an interview process and brought Katie on board because she had the most experience and did the best in the interviews. As she worked during that interim time frame, she did such a good job that we decided that, we wanted to try to offer her the town manager position, which is something, if we go with an external person, we could potentially do that again if that person is working out real well or they want it. Some just like to do interim stuff, but.
So how much notice did the previous town manager give?
About the same as Katie.
So,
Yeah, the difference is we were
8 weeks?
we were ready with a plan faster than we've been with this board.
Okay.
That's the only difference. So we're getting towards the end of where she's agreed to stay on, and so now we have to hurry up, make decisions.
Okay. And then when you came on and you were interim, how much difficulty did you have since you had previous experience?
Oh, it was.
Well, first of all, I spent a week with Chris LeMay. I've been on the Western Slope for most of my life and was a town manager in Western Colorado.
Okay.
So most of, my son lives between Bayfield and Durango, so I've been in this area for quite a while. So basically, it was just working with the staff. Keep in mind that the pandemic started, I had a month, not even a month.
No.
A week before we shut everything down. So I don't think anybody's experienced that before. So it was a whole new adventure for everybody.
Okay.
And the difference is how the town has evolved since Katie's been on board. I mean, we had Nicole Killian doing development for us, and so we have
But that was
expanded.
later. She came on
Yeah,
after
I got a point. Is that the difference in this time going with the interim town managers, we have to take into consideration more grant things that are going on, which when Katie
Didn't
first
have
came on
those
board, we
grants.
didn't have that kind of
Okay.
stuff. We didn't have Nicole having built up this whole department that has,
Right.
jumped us into being able to get money to do things like the sidewalks and, some of the other stuff that we've been able to do. We didn't have that kind of stuff
And
beforehand.
you didn't have the development pressure
Yeah,
either.
we didn't have the development pressure that we have right now. And so that's why that's such a huge concern right now, is because we lost Nicole, and then we need to make
But-
sure we have somebody that's capable of doing those things.
It's good that you were on the board back then.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, thanks.
Brian Blanchard, 627 Louisiana Drive. So can you enlighten us as citizens of where you're at with the options you do have? Have you voted on it? Are you expressed your personal opinion of how to move forward? It seems like it's been in the works for quite a while. I was gone 3 weeks, and they came up weeks before that. So what's going on?
So I will say it was an executive session and no decisions were made. I'm going to make
Okay.
that point plain. We
So
couldn't
when
answer
can we
that one, but
expect a decision from the board?
we're discussing this right now. This is in discussion phase, and it is,
I'll ask for a motion.
well,
It's up
Okay.
to the board whether they
would like to
provide a
hear what the
motion.
town has
And
to
when,
say first.
before I left a few weeks ago, it was indicated that there wouldn't be a problem finding an interim, that they were waiting in the wings.
Yep, that's still the case.
So is that still an option?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that you need to move forward on something, whatever that happens to be, come together and figure that out, what's best for the town. Not knowing all the facts or executive sessions and the things that are going on, I would say that my personal opinion is if Katie is willing to stay on, at whatever cost that is, pay her until we get somebody to replace her. That's my personal opinion. Good for the town.
Hi, Marion Tone again. So I don't have any brilliant answers for you guys. You'll have to figure that out, and you're all very good at figuring out difficult issues. So I just wanted to bring up a couple points. One is that I just heard you, Brenna, say, you know, we also have to deal with the loss of the community development manager. I know you're already thinking this, I'm restating the obvious, but keep those two tasks separate, because it kind of sounded like it might be sort of
Yeah,
rolled
no,
in together. So I know that's an obvious statement.
Yeah, and we do have a company that is helping us with that piece of it right now.
Right.
They're like 3 days a week assisting.
Right.
2 days, sorry, 2 days a week, sorry. However, my point was more of the concerns in the future of making
Sure.
sure that there's somebody who can guide that piece, not
Right.
necessarily.
But I'm also assuming you're also looking for that replacement role to bring in the sort of overall umbrella that the community development manager was able to bring in that we didn't have before. So I know I'm stating the obvious, but
Yeah.
sometimes it seems helpful,
Thank
so
you.
I did. Secondly, I just wanted to say that, you know, this town has survived a lot. I know, Katie, you came in and the pandemic hit, and like, I can't even imagine what that was like. I remember meetings in here with big plexiglass in front of us and trying to talk to the developers that were trying to develop at the time. So that was a unique, and hopefully nobody ever has to deal with that again. I guess it's a trade-off for you guys to decide, interim, which is nice because you're not making them any promises, versus a more long-term solution. That's, you know, a decision you have to make. I would just say that I think the town attorney, if he hasn't already advised you on this, the town manager position, in my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is not a statutorily required position. And so I think you've got, it's by ordinance in the town of Bayfield, so I think you have a little bit more flexibility in how you want to run that as opposed to a statutory requirement. I think that's true. So, yeah, well, I think you'll make a good decision. So, and we appreciate the flexibility that Katie has shown. I know I did help a little bit when, I know that when Chris made that transition, it helped. And so we appreciate what Katie is doing. I think the transition before Chris was pure train wreck. So I appreciate that you're sticking around to help with that transition. Thank you.
Your Honor, you do have a hand raised on Zoom.
Mayor Awe?
That's Julie Blanchard.
Oh, it's Julie? Oh, I see. Oh, that's the remote. Okay, sorry. Julie Blanchard?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
I just had a question about interim manager and what happens if we are approached by another developer to do another subdivision, and who would take care of that since we don't have Nicole as our community relations person?
So we just had a huge one submitted today Keep in mind that the SEH, who has a contract planner, they're here Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're still, Nicole is still helping us with building permits. We're still coordinating a lot of this stuff. So I'm still basically assisting with the coordination between planning, the planning commission, the agendas, and, still doing all of that a little bit more than I was before Nicole left. And we did advertise for a community development director back when she resigned in August. So we are still searching.
Right, so, if we were to start with the interim manager that is not aware of the situation with developers coming into our town, I just wonder if it wouldn't be better for Katie to stay on. I think I agree with my husband's comments, which are, we need to just keep her and pay her and see that everything runs smoothly and the town does not get taken advantage of by developers. That's my comment.
Thank you.
Lucy Stewart. Okay, guys, let's make a decision tonight. This has gone on long enough for everybody. Not only for Katie, not only for the attorney, not only for you guys. Make a decision, stick to it, and don't be wishy-washy. Enough is enough. And all I'm saying is, the decision. And you guys need to make a decision. Too much time is going, and things are going to hit you really hard when you don't have anybody with experience of writing these contracts. So what happens? What do they do next? Or what? Who's going to do that? You guys are losing a lot, but that's okay. That's your decision to make. You're the ones up there. You're the ones that have to live with that decision, good or bad. But it affects all of us. So, that development up there at Hager property is going to affect us for years to come. My neighbors are getting still flooded out. Their basements are still flooded out. Their foundations are flooded out. You know what? And you guys have not addressed it. I had an engineer from Denver come down and spend some time now during hunt season, and he told me that those ponds that you are putting in is somebody's nightmare. He said they will never work. They tried them in the Front Range, and they never worked. And if you read the article in the Durango Herald, they're revisiting that also. So all I'm saying, whatever decisions you guys are making, make sure it's the right one. Thank you.
Hey guys, Charlene Thomas, 523 Hickory Ridge, Bayfield. I'm just in agreement with Lucy. It's been clear since the election that people wanted Katie gone. I think that's the biggest mistake this town has made. And if you're going to get rid of her, just get her on her, let her move on with her life, let another town benefit from her. I'd love to see Katie stay and continue all the progress the town has made, but I think it's only fair to Katie to know what we want. So I just leave it in your guys' hands to make the right decision and make it timely for all of us.
Lori again. One more comment is I read through what Katie wants in order to stay, and I understand she wants her salary and all the benefits, but an additional $2,500, and I don't agree with that part, so that's just my opinion.
So Maureen Goldman, 1632 South Taylor Circle, Bayfield. And I have a question. How does what Katie has proposed, or the contract reads, compare with what was offered when it was spoken about in terms of any other interim? How does that compare?
It fits right in the wheelhouse.
Okay,
It's not out of line. And it is standard practice to give an interim town manager housing, and that includes their ability to go home on the weekends. So, it's mileage and it's also housing. That's standard practice. It happens. I was hired as the administrative assistant to the director of Archuleta County. He was an interim, and we covered all of his costs. You're asking a lot of someone to step in for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. We don't know how long it's going to take us to get a permanent town manager. I do know, like, the city of Paonia went through 3 iterations to get a town manager. It took them 1.5 years.
How long did Ignacio have one?
Right. So it's
like 10 years or
tough,
something?
but here we are, and we do, to Lucy's point, we have 3 major grants in the pipeline right now that if they do not have stringent oversight, we could lose millions of dollars to this town. 2.1 for stormwater infrastructure, shoring that up. We've got Cinnamon Heights. We have a developer that's ready to go with that, and we have Pine River Commons.
East intersection.
Right, and the east intersection. So these take a long time, but when the feds are ready to rock and the state's ready to rock and roll, we got to be ready. And if we have someone who doesn't know these things or quite understand them, or misses the email or whatever it is, there's a lot at risk right now. And so, to answer your question.
Yeah, thank you. And I had been to the meeting where that was all discussed once. I just couldn't remember the figures.
Yes.
But, I am in agreement with the Blanchers. I mean, I do feel that, someone who knows the ropes is well worth the money. And then if you throw in all the extra money that you're talking about in terms of an interim, as long as Katie's willing to do it, but when you talk 1 year, I didn't see her face. I don't know how long.
Hopefully it won't be that. Hopefully.
Interim how you would define interim for yourself, in terms of how long you'd be willing to stick around.
Well, they usually do a contract and then we.
Just renew that
Yeah.
if you need to. And you're.
Currently, it's to the end of March, the proposal.
Okay. Oh, okay, didn't know that. Yeah, I think we have someone who really knows what's going on. We'd be silly to reinvent the wheel at a much higher cost. That's all I have to say.
I would entertain a motion.
I'll give it a shot.
Go for it.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion that we go with Katie has already agreed to help us out through into December, I believe, and she has suggested, she could stay on. I would like to make a motion that we go ahead and just let her finish her time with us in December, that we proceed with the staff helping out just long enough for us to get to pursue an interim manager. We do have some applications, so I would like to see us proceed that way. If I made that clear, I don't know.
I think we do need to clarify on what the expectations of staff are, because we did have options to consider. So are we saying that we are moving forward with a external interim town manager And moving forward also with what Katie had in her resignation letter, which says that she's available to support staff remotely through December 27th of 2024.
You say it so much better than I did.
I just have all this documentation in front of me.
Okay.
So I just wanted to clarify what you were saying.
Yes.
And then, so it'd be moving forward, looking for we already had applications come in for an interim town manager. So the hope would be that we would have an interim town manager, based on your motion, starting when Katie is leaving.
Right. Hopefully,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So then, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make sure this motion is very clear, because I'm not really clear on what happens if we don't have an interim hired by January 1st. I just don't know the answer to that. So I want to make sure if we're making a motion and voting that I understand what happens at the end of Katie's resignation letter. And I don't know that that's clear to me right now.
Well, somebody else can help me out, but I
Yeah,
think that
okay.
the staff made some recommendations for a short-term division of duties on how they would handle different things that are going on. That's what I was sort of assuming and hoping that we can get an interim town manager in here fairly quickly. That's what I was thinking. If somebody else can phrase it better, that would be great.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion that we proceed forward with looking for an external interim manager, and maybe have a backup plan as staff would be interim if something was to fall through.
And include a last day for Katie, and I think we almost have the motion.
And, and I would add to the motion, Katie would have till the end of the week, and then she has her end date.
I think we should keep her for the PTO piece of it, so that she can help staff through the end of December, like she originally had said. That way, if they need some assistance, there's assistance to be had.
There still
It gives
needs
us
to
a
be
little more
date.
time, huh?
Still needs to be a date.
Well, physically through the end of Friday, and then her PTO through the end, what was her last? you have
December
that?
27th
That
was
December
what was in the
27th for
letter.
PTO.
On
In other
call.
words, keeping with
Yeah.
what her
Yeah.
exit was
Mhm.
requested.
What she
I'd be good with that.
I have a motion. Is that good enough?
Kind of a chop.
It's good, you have yet to receive a second.
A
on your
second, right,
motion.
but his motion is okay.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call?
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz,
Yes?
Trustee Katsas,
No.
Trustee Moreland,
No.
Trustee McLaurin,
Yes.
and Mayor Ah.
He's trying to get off mute.
Thumbs up or thumbs down? Yes. Yes.
We heard you.
So that motion carries 4-3? Is that correct?
Yes. All right, moving on to agenda item 4E, revised police chief contract.
I think we need to make one more point with Katie. Katie, if you could provide us with a list of your top priorities that we're going to have to monitor with our potential interim manager, especially like where we're at with the current grants. That would be deeply appreciated.
Sure.
Item 4E, revised police chief contract.
So I know I requested that this be put back on the agenda because I didn't understand what the tie vote, what that was all about, what that means, and that it means no. And so I wanted the opportunity for the full board to be able to vote on our police chief receiving a COLA and being able to provide a revision to his contract. I feel as if when we do a wage scale assessment, it's not fair for anyone under contract not to be able to provide, to be given an opportunity to revise their contract. I don't think when we negotiated with Chief's contract, I didn't know that we'd be doing a new wage scale survey. And I don't think it was considered on either the town's part to include that in his contract or Chief's part knowing that something like that would happen. So I just wanted to provide the full board the opportunity to entertain the chief providing a revision to not be the only person in the town not to receive a cost of living increase. So that is why I know I asked for this to be put back on the agenda, because I wanted all 7 of us to vote versus it being 6.
I was happy that you did that. I would agree that I think it should be all of us, and the tie was kind of a little weird to say no on a tie. In addition, I really think we need to think really hard about our leadership here and the satisfaction of the leadership and not losing any of our leaders at this point in time. And I certainly think it would not be a good thing to lose our chief of police over something like this.
I'm in full agreement, and I like the way that it's broken down, where after 18 months of employment, the cost of living adjustment would occur. He's currently almost at 12 months, and then also the 18 months of employment salary adjustments per updated and adopted salary surveys. That should be included, and I'm glad it is. And then after 36 months of employment, a performance review for a potential merit increase. So I'm in favor of this. I think the police chief has been doing a great job. We certainly don't need any more attrition of employees.
Is there any public opinion or public comment? I would entertain a motion.
Mayor Pro Temp, I would make a motion that we revise the police chief's contract to incorporate the cost of living raise.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Just to be clear, it's not only the cost of living increase, it's also an extension of the contract for 2 years. And then it outlines, of course, when that increase will happen. So just to be clear, that I think that motion should include those 3 components. And the contract also modifies all the references to Marshall to police chief.
Wow, we got to write a book for that one.
Yes.
Can we just say what he said?
So moved.
It's on the record now.
Or maybe we can just say the revised police chief contract as presented.
Perfect.
Okay.
There you go.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz,
No.
Trustee Katsos,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin,
Yes.
and Mayor Ah.
So that motion carries.
Yes, that motion carries. Item 5A, October 2024 financial statements.
Whoops, sorry. I'm gonna have to, I got it, okay. Sorry about that. So I don't have much more to add. I mean, I can go through my report. At the end of October, we had gone through 83% of the year. The general fund, we've received as normal, county city sales tax, a small portion of property tax, even though it's due twice a year, we seem to get a little bit every month. Oil and gas royalties, our cigarette tax, and, let's see, by the county. In the general fund, we had $16,500 in capital improvement projects completed this month. That was expenses for the senior center ADA ramp replacements in their parking lot. This fund is currently a little over $17,000 expenses over revenue. However, it is 2 months behind in the collection of county and city sales tax. And we also have 2 quarters of the SRO and the HIDA grants that have just been billed, and so we still need to collect those.
Kathy, can I ask a question?
Uh-huh.
So when we're looking at, we don't have the county and city sales tax, or we have it through August.
Yes.
And when we're looking at the capital improvement, our expenses over revenue in the general fund is $17,064.95. When we look at the sales tax that we should receive historically from September and October, does that balance out the
Oh,
17,000?
absolutely.
It puts us back in the
Absolutely.
opposite direction, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel like when I read these, I'm always seeing that it's expenses over revenue, and I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, what's the guesstimate for the
Yeah.
actual revenue that we should
Yeah.
see? So it's not always.
Yeah, the revenue that we're behind is probably, just a guess, a little over $200,000.
Oh, okay, well
So,
then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very helpful.
Yeah, it'll help.
Yeah.
The water and sewer funds are trending as expected. You may have noticed that there was no revenue in the sewer fund, I&I, water sales, anything like that. That's because we're still working on, at the end of October, we were still working on the billing, and so the billing had not been processed yet, so you won't see those in there yet. We are like right there. We're gonna finish this up tomorrow and be done with the billing issues, I hope. Garbage fund, it's, as expected, they're behind in billing us, we're behind in collecting, so. The street fund, we've received August's city sales tax and HUTF. This fund is currently $189,000 expenditures over revenue. The balance is due to a lag in the collection of sales tax and grant reimbursements, along with the capital improvement projects that we're expected to spend down the reserves in this fund. And this fund will also collect annually natural gas franchise fees and the remaining quarterly payments of the TV franchise fee and the county road and bridge funds. Total interest this month, or in the month of October, from Colo Trust was $42,599. And sales tax is trending as expected, so.
Any questions?
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz, I'll make a motion to approve the October 2024 financial statement.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Just waiting for Mayor on. The financial statements pass. Sales tax report, we did that. Shared sales.
Shared use path.
Shared use path, additional costs. Looks like we have some additional costs on the shared use path. For delays.
And not for
Winter.
delays.
Winter weather.
Well, winter weather is basically part of that. Most of that is for heating, and it looks like we had a meeting today. We may not even worry about that $12,000, but because you don't meet again until December 3rd, it would be too late to make this decision then. So I would just say it would contingent on the weather. Of course, you never know about the weather. The rest of it is, we do have some savings of $18,000, but there's been additional engineering and geotechnical for $75,930. So the net is $69,851.55. And that net is basically it can be made up in the street fund because we do have a little over $500,000 for sidewalks that we're going to do for the Mill Street area, but that's not going to be done in 2024 this year. And of course, we would like to get this finished. Bechtel has been a great engineer. I think the one thing that we've learned from Bechtel is that CDOT typically will review the plans, and they should review the design engineer's plans. And what Bechtel was telling us is that they've been hired by CDOT for CDOT's representative to do the plans. And what we should have done, we just assumed their engineers were reviewing it at the time. But what we should have requested from CDOT is that CDOT hire an engineer to actually review the plans. If we had done that, it would have been CDOT's cost and not the town's cost. So we were finding a lot of design engineer issues with that, which we've had a lot of troubles with this engineer, and we are considering, or of course you will consider, if you would like to take out some claim against their license as an engineer in the state of Colorado.
What would that entail?
There's a regulatory commission that you would start with, and I think, you would be, one engineering company basically to provide those specifics for the end. We're not going to get any money back. But I think that anybody that's going with this other engineering company should be aware of the pitfalls.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like this was out of our control. It's a shame.
That happens.
Yep.
Any public comment? Any discussion or a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the additional $69,851.55 for the shared use path from available street funds.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg. Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Katzos.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
So to be clear in the future, moving forward with this specifically, if we would like to place a claim with this design, or if we want to kind of make it known that we're not happy with this, and you said we could.
Well, it's a regulatory commission that you would send a letter of complaint, just like the Better Business Bureau, but it's a regulatory commission in the state of Colorado for engineers.
So would we direct you to do that, Katie, or a town manager to do that?
I would just direct your next town manager to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next item D, Resolution 632, 2024 Budget Supplement Number 2.
I have a question on that. are we going to have to make an adjustment now that we've voted yes for the chief of police to partake in?
It's already in the budget.
Oh, it is already. Okay, thank you.
Any discussion or public comment on this budget supplement for broadband?
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz, I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 632.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Item E, Resolution 633, adoption of the 2025 budget. Any discussion? Questions?
Madam Pro Temp, I would make a motion that we approve Resolution 633 and adopt the 2025 budget.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz?
No.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Resolution 634, appropriations, item F.
Well, I know the appropriations just says where we're putting them, so, I mean. I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 634, appropriations.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Resolution 635, to certify the mill levy.
And I'm assuming it's the same like it was before.
Yes, and they're still looking at that House bill, and I think that's something that we're going to be working on with many statutory towns.
Okay.
Because it did not affect home rule municipalities, so we're still looking for more information on that.
Gotcha. Okay. In the meantime, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 635, certify mill levy.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Item H, Resolution 636, constrained fund balances.
Seems pretty par for the course. I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 636, constrained fund balances.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Item I, Resolution 637, wage scale.
We've gone over this one too, so I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 637 wage scale.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Item J, Resolution 638, partnerships and community grants.
Been through this one too.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, I forgot it, but we received a little nice thank you award for the wrestling team that we approved a grant on. So I'll bring it on the next meeting. Apologize for forgetting it. Looks great. Looks like it did last year. I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 638, Partnerships and Community Grants.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz,
No.
Trustee Katzos,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin,
Yes.
and Mayor Ah.
All right, now we're to item 6A, approval of the minutes for November 5th.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes dated November 5th, 2024 as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Katzos,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin,
Yes.
and Mayor Ah.
Item 6B, Todd Lyon, Planning Commission appointment.
Yeah, Todd is still here.
You made it.
Yes, he's made it.
If you'd like. You're good.
He did
Okay.
talk the other day.
He
so,
did.
I mean,
We, we do know him now.
Well, Todd, I was excited to see this come up on the agenda, so I would love to make a motion to appoint Todd Lyon to the Planning Commission with a term of October 2024 to October 2028.
I'll second.
We were in a fight over seconding it, but
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Katzos,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
yes, and thank you.
Trustee McLaurin,
Yes.
and Mayor Ah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's hard to fill those seats, so it's very appreciated.
All right, Public Works Director.
Good evening, Board. I did put together an October staff report for you. So for sake of time, I'll keep it short, but mostly because I was in the dentist before I came here. So,
Lucky you.
so we're seeing our locate tickets hanging around 50, 60. That's normal. Most of these are for the new fiber drops, for Clear Networks, the high-speed internet that's going in. The big one on here is a water leak at Dove Ranch Road. We got correlation equipment that we had purchased up there earlier. We were trying to pinpoint the leak, and it has subsided. So bravo, we don't have to cut a street and dig it up in the middle of the winter, so we're super happy. We're just going to monitor it and make sure that it's not potable water. The senior center lift station is actually fixed permanently now. We got the new controller in, that's installed, so we'll quit babysitting it. And then the other big item is the shared use path, the sidewalk over there. We were at a meeting today. Right now, tentatively, the schedule is to have the concrete placed and that sidewalk back open by Thanksgiving. So if all goes well, we should be wrapping up middle of next week. So keep your fingers crossed. That one's been really difficult, and just, some of the additional costs. Some was design. A lot of shallow utilities that we were finding throughout there, gas lines, fiber lines, communication that had to be dealt with. So those are a lot of the delays that you're seeing with some of that additional project management costs, and that just kind of helped put that in perspective where that was. So you'd encounter a shallow utility, you'd have a weak holdup, we'd have to get a hold of the utility owner, lower it, just to make sure that we kept everything operational. So
Have we had any thoughts about extending that to the rest of it? Because there's a path that goes around onto 501. Have we ever thought about doing that?
Yeah,
Or
and
is
that actually got
CDOT?
cut because of the expense.
Oh, gotcha.
So we did walk from Dollar General going up to 501 to connect there, and with the retaining wall, the hand railing, and all that stuff that went in, kind of something similar you're seeing over here on East Mill. The cost was just too much for the grant.
Oh, bummer. Well, we'll have to put it on the
But eventually, we can look into it
list.
For you.
Yeah.
If we can find some more money.
If we can find more money.
Well, there's the
do.
wetlands there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions or?
No.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Hope you feel better. Sorry I asked the question. Made you talk more.
Mayor, Board of Trustees, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for extending my contract and wanting to keep me here. I do appreciate it. My family appreciates it as well. There's two things I just want to note on our monthly is that our calls for service in October is probably the highest we've ever had. And we are dealing with a lot more now, and it's only going to get more and more with more traffic in town, more businesses in town and everything like that. But our officers and our team has handled everything very well. But if you go on the second page, I just commended Sergeant Stritzel, Amber, Investigator Cashwell. Yeah, she still works for us. SRO Moreland and Officer Rittenhouse. On October 25th, La Plata County had to handle a very, very stressful incident with a homicide. And so we kicked into gear here and pulled our team together and made sure that we had our entities safe throughout town because we were able to develop some information, but there was no threat, no imminent threat, no even perceived threat, but we acted and we went into play and we got people into places that we made sure that any type of resource that could have been was protected. So we had everything covered, and some of the information that we learned, we shared with the sheriff's office, and that's what led to more of an identification of the suspect. So we were very integral in play, and we had our entire team. It was probably the first time in years that 5 of us were on duty at one time. That's over half the agency, but they all pulled together. We did it right, and we made Bayfield safe. So
Very good.
if you have any other
Thank you.
questions.
Yeah, what are most of your calls for?
It all depends on what time of the day, but the lion's share of our calls are still the school district. That's where we have most of our calls because that's where most of the people are in town during the day. But we've been getting a lot more traffic stops, but that's for traffic safety. We've been trying to improve the traffic safety for a while here. And I've talked to a couple citizens, that
That was
they've
military
seen our
phrase right
cars
there.
out. They see them stopping people. They know that we're out there protecting the community. We're in the neighborhoods all the time now, making sure that we are visible and that I don't like them in our office. They're only in our office if they got to type up a report or do something. Other than that, they're supposed to be in the cars, in the streets, making sure that everybody is safe. So traffic stops are up. The calls for service are mostly at the school, but it's a lot of extra patrols, foot patrols, security checks, and things like that. But we are getting in the parks. We all drive through everywhere every day because we're able to track that now on our new system, so we can tell where officers are at all the time and where they've been to make sure that they are providing this residents, even no matter what part of town, they're always in the neighborhood at least once or twice a shift. So we've been doing that, making sure that you guys are safe and you see us.
Good evening. Okay. Well, let's see. We hired a new utility billing clerk. Her name is Shannon. She started November 4th. She's doing absolutely wonderful, so she's a great addition to our team. This Friday will be, hopefully, we're crossing our fingers, the first payroll transition from the payroll department. So I think I've been up here again just saying Kristen and Kathy and I have worked really, really hard to get this transition going. So we're hoping it'll go well for this Friday. We got our insurance quotes from AccuSure. We currently have Cigna. Those quotes, they weren't lower. They were more than they were last year, and the deductibles or anything didn't change. So I created a benefit meeting at the beginning of the month to kind of talk about CEBT as well as AccuSure's benefit plan, and all of the staff decided to switch over to CEBT. So we will have open enrollment this Thursday. We will have someone from CEBT here to talk about 3 different plans, and Katie worked really hard on putting the percentages of what the employer's employer part portion and the employees are doing. So that looks really good.
Marie, can I ask a question on that bullet?
Yes.
I'm wondering, do we get quotes based on number of employees who would be enrolling in these plans? Is there And I'm just wondering if there'd be any benefit to joining forces with other employers in Bayfield that may help all of employers in Bayfield have better insurance rates. Because I know in the past, maybe when I first started on the board 4-ish years ago, we had talked about maybe partnering with, looking at Upper Pine or the school district for health insurance. And so I'm just curious if doing something like that would be of a benefit to not only the town staff, but also to partner employer staff.
That's a good point. That's something I didn't look into. I looked into 3 different organizations, so we can look at that in the next couple years, maybe further down the road, but that's a great point.
I've mentioned that to Upper Pines Human Resources as well, just thinking about all of those who are employed, have employers in Bayfield. Is there a way to
Combine them all
offer
together, yeah.
better insurance rates if you have more people in the plan? So
Yep.
just a thought. Not,
Yep. Love
clearly,
that
I'm not
idea.
saying we're not doing anything now. You've got a plan, but maybe for future, just entertaining conversation.
I
There
like
are-
feedback, so.
I know in the nonprofit community, at least back in Virginia, all nonprofits all kind of got together to get group rates. And they were able to get group, lower rates because overall the people that work in the nonprofit industry don't get hurt very often. Things like that. But I mean, there were really significant savings, and that was for nonprofits. But I wonder if, governments, or if they have something. I think it's called the Washington Council of Agencies back in Virginia. But there might be something like that here that would help in the future.
I'll put that on my notes for a couple years. Okay, I've obviously posted for the interim town manager, community development director, and planner, so hopefully in the next couple weeks, I can look at scheduling some interviews. We also posted for the police officer 1 position. We did 1 set of testing, and we have another one on Thursday as well for an applicant. First off, let me say thank you for approving the wage scale. I think all of the staff over here really appreciate it, and we look forward to that and just appreciate your support of us. So thank you. And just 2 quick shout outs. Number 1, Katie, Kristen, Jeremy, I'd say Kathy, working on utility billing. I know there's a lot of issues with that, but they have worked really hard behind the scenes to catch those mistakes, to run reports, to make sure that it's flowing correctly. So I just want to give them all a shout out because, it's just one headache after another. And so, great job. And the second shout out I have is for Josh and Dustin. Kristen is actually moving into the library. Her new office is for right now, in the office. And so Josh was like, all right, let's get her moving in. All right, let's go. And then some Friday, he's just taking shelves out, moving everything out. This is just over the whole day. And Dustin's been in there too, archiving, taking stuff out. So I just want to give a shout out to those 2. All right, thank you.
Can I ask one more question, Marie?
Yes.
Sorry. So when you mentioned we've posted for interim town manager based on direction that was given this evening, interviews in a couple weeks, is there any way, since we know you have resumes, we could be scheduling something faster? And then how do you want to schedule that time with the board so that we can get a move on for a potential January 1?
Correct. Like ideally, do you want interviews the beginning of next week, beginning first week of December? That's what I need to know from you all. And in the evening, during the day, that's what I need direction on.
Do we need a survey of availability? I don't know how this works. I just know that I don't want to be waiting weeks and weeks to do this.
Yeah,
I'm ready to go on Monday.
Yeah, me too. Can we send out a calendar survey?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Just see what
All right.
everybody's availability is
Okay.
and choose from that.
I can create another survey.
Maybe
And
the
do
survey
we
queen.
need the majority of the, who needs to be available? Because I don't want us to be delayed based on trying to schedule 7 people. I'm not trying to exclude anyone. I'm just saying, I just want to get it scheduled, get it done. Maybe we have a powwow as a team to provide updates if Matt was at one and I was at another. I don't know how to make that work. But,
Mhm.
I mean, next week's a holiday week
Right.
for most people, and then, again, and I don't know when people would be available, but if we can get them started sooner rather than
Yeah.
later.
And having majority be there would probably be helpful. I mean, I can be there, but I shouldn't
It's
run
not-
it.
it's not
So,
her
Is there any way-
decision, it's
Yeah.
our
Is it a
decision.
possibility of going for next Tuesday evening? Or a Tuesday evening, since we're typically, I mean, I know we have planning and I know there's other Tuesday things, but is that a place to start? Is that a possibility?
Well, I'm personally fine. I leave Tuesdays for the town board, but I think the schedule, like sending out a calendar to find out that
Yeah,
answer is
yeah.
probably a little bit better for us to do with the holiday. Just because the
That's
person
fine.
might not be available Tuesday, so
Right.
we're gonna have more than one option for who we're interviewing.
and I know we had interview questions that were supposed to be November 1st, so I've got some of them. So I can kind of put those together and send those all out to you and see if you want to add some more questions or anything.
Yeah, send those
to
out.
that.
I would love that. That's awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no, sorry, I just want to make sure that's
Thank you.
prioritized.
Okay.
That was a good question.
Sometimes. Not all the time, sometimes.
Moving on to action agenda. Item A, Resolution 639, proposed utility rates. Any discussion, public input?
I have one question. When we change the garbage, how long is that contract? Is it an annual?
It's 5 years.
That's a bummer. I asked that question because it's a very large increase in,
Well,
in the
they
bill.
were the lowest from all the other bids that we got. I know.
It's a crazy increase.
Well,
Since we haven't received a bill, and people ask this all the time, is when are we gonna see a bill and how are we gonna catch up on people? Some people haven't.
You're talking about the utility bills?
How, is that gonna wait, like 2 months now? Is that, we have to pay it all at one time, or do we can have time to catch up? How's that gonna work?
You do have some time to catch up. I think it was February
26th,
Yeah.
And if you
The-
need an extension, that interim
Yeah.
town manager, that's a request to them.
Yeah, and I'm sure we can work with that. We don't, I know none of us up here want to cause a financial burden on the citizens. And I understand that piece, and that some may not have been aware, tossed their mail out, aren't on internet, whatever. It's hard to get communication to everybody, but I don't think there's anybody up here that wants to burden them with it, but it's something that had to be fixed before we build again, so.
Well, and Katie, people can pay what they think is their estimated
They can,
bill,
yeah,
right?
they can, if you paid something in August or September and you know that you didn't use as much water, take your bill and pay a little less, or pay what you paid in December or November of last year.
Yeah, like I went
It's
online
close.
and paid
Yeah.
mine regularly, so I didn't have to worry about it, but.
I did the same damn thing.
Hi, Marion again. So I don't know how to make any comment on utility rates because I don't know what they're going up to. But I do know that, I know I've spoken to Ms. Sickles about this in the past. I think that, so I think we might be the only people south of 160 and east of the town that are on town water that aren't in the town. I'm not sure if that's really true. I'm looking at you because you probably know. But I think we might be getting the same bill that the people that have a pump station over towards Gem Village, I think we're billed at the same rate.
It's just out-of-town rates.
Right, and all we are is basically a T off of the town water pipes. We don't have any special infrastructure gets our, I don't even know why. It's an ancient story as to why the ranch is on town. There's 2 town taps over there. But I would like to ask you to look at that because I think that there should be a differential because I don't know why we would be paying the same rate for somebody who has a whole separate infrastructure to get water over to them, like in Homestead or whatever, whereas we're just 2 little taps east of town. So I would like to ask for someone to look at that to see if there's some appropriate waiver or exception that needs to be applied. So that's not a decision for tonight. I just wanted to raise it since
No.
you were talking about utility
Can,
rates.
can you answer that, Jeremy, for us? Thank you.
There are certain parcels that are within the town boundaries that are still county parcels, and they're billed an out-of-town rate as well, too. Some of the enclaves that are on the Bayfield Parkway.
So you might want to just look at that, because I understand why some county parcels are billed at a much higher rate because there's substantial infrastructure to get them their water. But those in holdings and then our ranch, I don't think there's any infrastructure except a pipe that goes over there. So I would ask you that you look at that for the future. Thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz, I would like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 639, 2025 utility rates.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
No.
Trustee Katzos.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Item B, Resolution 640, utility relief.
Leap. I feel like this is pretty straightforward.
Well, I appreciate Resolution 640 because this helps people who are having problems with their billing to get some relief. So I am 100% for Resolution 640. Can I make a motion to approve Resolution 640 utility relief?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Katzos.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Item C, Resolution 641, December 2024 Employee Handbook revisions.
Yes, so this is actually two of these items have been on my list since the last HR director was here. And so those were the comp time. When people work overtime, they can take their 1.5 hours and they can use it as comp time. However, the problem is it becomes more complicated to manage. And the other thing is that when the overtime is actually accrued, it's easier to figure out where we need to hire extra people at the time. Or if you got so much overtime, is it time really to add another staff member versus more overtime? There's a whole list of things that have been removed. The other thing that happens is the employees start getting deduction for their health insurance when they start. And then when they leave, the health insurance basically is for the month that they leave in. So in other words, they're already paying, and yet they could be paying even the month that they leave. So really, the employee is getting kind of shafted a little bit about a month. So this would be a change to let the health insurance make sure that's that extra month, seeing as the employee didn't get health insurance the first month that they worked. Then there's all kinds of other things in there that Marie went through this and checked some things. Kristen went through this as well. I really appreciate everybody kind of taking a look at that. So,
Katie, I do have a question about the health insurance, actually, because I'm just wondering, is it common practice? Because I know where I've been employed, you had to wait 60 days and you weren't paying into insurance, or first 90 days or whatever it would be, and then your insurance and your deductible or your deductions would start that month that you were eligible for insurance. And then I've actually had employees who would wait and quit on the first day of the next month so that they would have insurance throughout the rest of that month. So I'm kind of wondering how it is that the employee is getting, I don't understand the comment about them getting shafted. Sorry.
So let's say employee starts in November.
Yes.
Let's say they November 5th or
Mhm.
November
Yeah.
6th. They get deduction from their health insurance in November, but they don't get health insurance until December.
Why are they getting, so our practice is when you start, you have health insurance immediately?
No,
Oh.
they're being deducted health insurance from their
pay for it, but
paycheck.
they don't get it yet.
Why?
They don't get it until December, so it's 30
Yeah.
days after the first day.
But why are they paying for the insurance?
That's just been the practice of the town.
That's also insurance, health insurance standard, is that
That-
you
I've-
start to collect it and then you get it the following month of your like
Okay.
hire date.
I've not seen that.
And that's been
So
going on, and
if-
we've had a
Okay.
couple employees leave, and I started looking at where they started getting deductions, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, they were deducted health insurance that they're not getting the benefit of, and we don't, we may not have an employee that fits right in there, so why don't we just make sure that they have employee? And I just feel that should be in the
No,
handbook.
if that's what's happening, that I agree with this. I'm just kind of curious now that you're moving to the payroll department, because I have worked with the payroll department. I'm wondering if there's a way to not have insurance deductions when you're not eligible for insurance. And that would be a question I would ask. But if that is the case, then
just-
we would need to revisit insurance ending a month after, if the payroll department is able to do insurance without deducting.
I don't know. It's just been in
Yeah.
the practice here, and
Yeah,
we're
no,
just
it just-
we're just trying to align
No.
to the employee's benefit.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying that
It would be better
With-
to agree to
yeah, if
line it
you're
up
not
with the date.
eligible, then you're not paying for it. And so I'm
Yeah.
just wondering if there's a different deductible system, and I would ask the payroll department, and if that's the case, I would then revisit this in the employee handbook. Because again, you shouldn't be paying for something that you're not receiving, and most people aren't eligible for insurance in their first 60, whatever
It's
your
30,
30
yeah.
days
Yeah.
well, it was 60 at San Juan Basin. So
I always had a different kind of view of that, because if you paid for your month ahead of time, so say you started November 1st, you paid for a whole month's worth of insurance in November because you had 2 pay periods, right? You're paying that whole month for December. So you're paid current and you get your insurance. You're insured. And I always looked at it as that way, like you're paying, it's like, your
Paying it
rent.
forward?
Your rent. You pay your rent for the month ahead, right? And I always thought of it in that same concept, but when it was done that way, there was always, when they left their employer, they got that month because they'd already paid it.
okay, I just haven't had that.
I
employee.
have seen it.
Yeah.
Not
No,
that
no.
everybody does it
If this
that
is
way.
what we do in Bayfield, I 100% agree. The staff should get what they pay for, and if it's the month after they separate, then 100%. I just don't understand who's making that decision.
So just one more thought, is I honestly don't know with CEBT quite yet, I'm meeting with them tomorrow, how they actually, when they charge, right, the employee for the benefits. So I'm gonna know that more because tomorrow, we aren't charging employees for December. I think we only charge 23 weeks.
There's 26 pay periods. So keep in mind that there's out of 26 pay periods, there's only be 24 times it's deducted. And in December, that was agreed upon by the employees that they wanted to not have
Have the fee
instead
in
of
December
that
so they had
odd-
money and
that
for
odd month
holidays, yeah.
once in a while. They just wanted it in December, and that was decided by the employees, which still is it was a wash
Right.
either way.
Okay. So do we really need that information before we make a decision on this? Yeah, I would say yes. That was not really, I wasn't really asking the question, but I think we need to know that answer
I
before
think
we
based
decide on
on
this
what we
one.
know now and the current practice, that we could vote on this.
And then change it if we had
we
to?
find new information out, we
That's a
just bring
great
it
idea.
back to the
So if it
board.
changes, then we can bring it,
Yeah.
okay. I like that. Can I make a recommendation that the next time we're presented with a packet where there's changes in a policy, that it's highlighted?
That's fine. I had
Yeah.
a pretty marked up copy.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
just, you go through the whole thing rather
Well,
than
that's
just
why
the
I gave you
sections.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you mean
I mean,
on
there's
your
if you want
notes.
red tracking, I don't mind that. It just adds a lot of pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Any
I
public
just like to see the
comments?
old one, yeah.
Entertain a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 641, December 2024 Employee Handbook Revision.
I'll second.
I I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Katzos.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
All right, upcoming dates, Thanksgiving and the Friday after. Town offices are closed. Our next meeting is December 3rd. Planning Commission, December 10th, and then the offices are closed 24th and 25th.
So I noticed that there's nothing for the holidays for staff listed on here. Are they doing anything for holidays for staff? It's in the works. Okay, I just want to make sure because I didn't see anything on here that they were being taken care of because I really want them to feel appreciated. And then I also noticed we didn't have anything on there for our board meetings.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do we have a
board
second
reports.
meeting in December, or just one meeting? In the past, we've only had one meeting in December, and then I think we only had the second meeting in January, but I didn't know with interviews and whatnot, what.
I think we should just stick with it with the interviews and stuff.
Yeah, the one meeting, because we'll be doing interviews.
Oh, no, I'm fine with
Yeah.
that. I just noticed nothing was on here, and I didn't know if that was just because we'll talk about it at the next meeting. I just want to make sure I got my calendar booked right.
Also, there's no board reports on here.
Yeah, that's what I was.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, well, it's,
It got buried.
it says,
It was a crazy
yeah, there was,
thing.
it says
That's okay.
Board of Trustee reports and upcoming dates of interest, so it
Okay.
is on there.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Okay. Do I start at one end? Matt? I'm sorry.
TPR is coming up. That's all I got.
Okay. Do you have it?
So I've been attending the Upper Pines board meetings as well as a rando citizen and as a very part-time employee of the fire department. So I would love to be able to add that to here so we have that connection. The other thing I'm wondering, since before, Brenna, you're no longer on the Chamber of Commerce, are you?
I am not.
And I'm not either, and Ashley was, and she's no longer on this board. I'm just wondering if we need some form of a liaison between the chamber and the board, or maybe connected through the Economic Alliance. Like, I don't know what that looks like, but I feel as if we have our business community where there's no one chatting with them. I would be happy to continue to meet with the Chamber of Commerce. I'm not on their board anymore, but just to kind of see what's going on, to provide a report, unless it makes more sense for someone else who's maybe doing something along those lines. But just throwing that out there, I just saw it as maybe something that was missing.
Well, I always like hearing the information, so I'd be happy to have that, and I feel like it will help us know more about what's going on in the town as well, because they know stuff that we don't know.
Because I think their next meeting is this Thursday.
I appreciate you stepping up to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Economic Alliance, I have had a standing commitment for every other Wednesday for the 45 years I've been in this community, and I cannot do the board for the Economic Alliance. I can do the meeting, but it doesn't make sense to do the board. So I was going to ask you, since you're new to the board and you weren't assigned anything, it's Wednesdays 3 to 5, the first Wednesday of the month. And then the meeting is 8 to 9, the second Tuesday. It's a standing board commitment.
Yeah, I don't know that I can commit to that based on my day job, actually. I tried to attend the last meeting because I had received an email from their executive director about their meeting, and that's where I started thinking about the Bayfield Chamber of Commerce too, because that's where I was seeing a disconnect, because I saw the Durango Chamber there, but maybe we can talk more about that. I just know during daytime hours, there's no way I can commit to doing something like that, but I can commit to working on emergency preparedness, because that is already in my repertoire. I can commit to working with Upper Pine because
It's not during your day job.
and chief calls me anyway, so might as well just make that part of what I do.
So is there anyone else on the board that would like to take that over? Can take that over?
I also attended the Economic Alliance meeting on Tuesday because we understood that they were feeling very concerned that Bayfield was not being presented and represented. So I attended to just check in, get updated with that. So I'm happy to do that. I've also been asked to continue my role with Region 9. I was finishing out Mayor Tarkington's term, and Laura reached out to me and asked if I would consider continuing past December, and I told her I would. I'd like to also say that at that Economic Alliance meeting, the county key stakeholders all voiced their disappointment and loss of Katie leaving our town manager role, and it was apparent that they were very grateful for her service over the last few years. Also, Trustees, Azaro, you mentioned the emergency preparedness liaison. I love that idea. Maybe we can look at putting something like that on maybe the January or February agenda, where we review our kind of town preparedness, emergency preparedness. I'd love that. Also, I'd like to add discussion about the lodger's tax. I think it's better to put that in place until we're in a heated moment where we're trying to get that passed. And then lastly, I wanted to ask Attorney Goldman, to Brian Blanchard's concern that when letters are sent to the board, they are not addressed. I feel that that letter that we received about Mayor Pro Tem's Alexis Hart's resignation, I wanted to respectfully listen to the public, so I did not comment during the public section of that. But I feel that we do need to show the public that we've looked at that, we hear them, and we're concerned that they're concerned. Is there anything that I need to be aware of legally to bring that back before the board?
Yeah, so for something along those, is that as an example, it's really not something that is up for board discussion. It is not something that the mayor would want on an agenda. So it's perfectly appropriate for perhaps public comment if someone wants to comment. But public comment is reserved for just that comment and not necessarily to expand upon more of the board's time, hours. It's now 9:40. We've been
Right.
here for 3.5 hours.
Correct.
It's just inappropriate.
Right. Well, my concern is that they requested that she resign as of today. We just listened to what the public had to say. But I'm wondering how we respond to that request.
Well, that is really, the request is really between the public and one board member.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily meant for the entire board. So it really is, again, an inappropriate matter for the board to weigh in on. Simple.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a shame that Mr. Blanchard left so he could hear that.
Well, it's on the record.
Oh,
Can I do my board report?
yes?
So I attended the Regional Housing Alliance meeting this last Thursday, and they went over the update we had actually an update from DOLA and on land banking and community land trusts and kind of how that works and how it can be used in municipalities. And then we also went over the Catalyst Fund. They have a fund, and we're in round four, the Catalyst Fund, where they've only had one applicant for that. So if you know anybody who is in the process of doing a development, they may want to talk to them about that, because we only had one applicant, so they're still keeping it open a little bit longer. They're also in the process of getting like a housing needs assessment, which I think would be some great information for us to understand when it comes to the affordable housing needs in our area. So I'm looking forward to when that's completed, that we can share it with you guys, and so you can see like how our efforts for affordable housing in Bayfield are really going to impact our housing needs.
I actually got that survey.
It's
through Region
the
9.
survey,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
so they sent out a survey, but that's only a small part of
Sure.
what they're doing.
Yes,
So
yeah.
excited about that. And then they also have a Regional Housing Alliance Director position that's open, and it closes, I think, in the next couple weeks, and I think they have a pretty good idea of who they want to hire for that. So we'll be excited to get a new executive director. I think the person that they're intending to have is going to do amazing. That's all I had.
Trustee McLaurin.
Well, I'm not really assigned to anything right now. I was working on the agricultural board. Okay, but they're close enough. They are working. The Good Food Collective is based down around Durango, but they've done some work out around here, and they are really working really hard on developing. Well, they're assessing their current state of the local food systems and who the players are and how we can all work together to promote self-sufficiency and food in this area. And I would like to continue to follow up on them and be a representative. I didn't get to go to the meeting tonight, but today I think Pam from Pine River Shares went, which she would be a very good proponent. But I'd like to follow up on that because I think that's really important for us. We're an agricultural area, and we need to be able to feed ourselves and feed ourselves properly and see how that, and work together with other organizations. And it's sometimes hard to get Durango and Bayfield to work together.
Speaking of feeding people, Pine River Shares does have their Thanksgiving holiday meal this Saturday.
Yes, this Saturday from 3 to 5.
Yes, from
3
3
to
to
5.
5. So if
Anybody
you-
can come. If you want to do carry out, you can do that too. Please come see us.
Is there anything special we need to do for Friday for volunteering over at the senior center?
Show up.
Just show up? Okay.
You did announce it because
posted.
both of us we're going to both be there. So
It's posted on the front door too. I just have to take the one public.
If they're filled up, I mean, they don't have any more seats for.
Well, this is just to
No, this is
assist.
volunteer.
To
To
assist,
volunteer
yeah,
and help,
yeah.
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 All right, anything else? No? Everybody done? Meeting is adjourned at 9:24. Oh, Tom, anything, Mayor Ah? Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I did it. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad it was in your pocket. I would have forgot it. Thank you.
Wildlife corridor.
Well, that's okay. That's all right.